Guys, Melissa here. In this video, I'm going to show you how I make my coiled coils. I'll show you how I measure and how I determine the size and length coil that I would want. And I'll show you how I make nice, tight, perfect coils every time. So if you want to see how I make them, just stay tuned and I'll show you how. Alright, so let's get started. So I was making this framed pendant. I made the frame a little bit larger than the stone. And real quick, I followed this frame pendant design from Perfectly Twisted Jewelry. If you want to check out her channel, she's got some really cool stuff over there. So I followed that tutorial up to this point, and I have some room on the sides here that I figured I would put some coiled coils on there. And I thought I'd film it real quick here to show you how I determine the size and the length of my coils. So let's go ahead and do that. For my coils, I use a drill. I use this one right here. And for my long coils, I use a vise and a fishing swivel. And I'll go ahead and link that video up above on how I do that. But if you want to use a coiling gizmo or hand coil, that's up to you. I find the drill works really well and works really efficiently for me. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. So I'm going to measure my pendant here. Looks like there's about 2 inches on either side that I want to coil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coil about 8 inches. And I like my coils to be nice and tight, so I think 8 inches should do it. I think I'm going to use some 24 gauge for the core wire and 28 gauge for my coiling wire. I attach one piece to my swivel. I cut at least 1 foot to give me plenty of wire on either side of my coil to work with. This end, I'm gonna put a little 90-degree bend in it. Down here, I have my coiling gizmo bracket, and this is where my 28 gauge is. I have it down here so it uncoils really easy. And take my 28 gauge. Start wrapping it around my 24 gauge. I'm going to bring it down the side where this angle is. I'm going to open my drill chuck. I'm going to feed it in there and tighten it up. Start my drill slowly. I'm not sure what direction it's going. Oh, let's go the opposite direction. All right, so it's going to get loud, and I'm going to use my fingers and my fingernails to guide it to get it going nice. That'll happen. You got to start off slow because sometimes it'll backtrack. So I kind of back up. Reverse, and then start again. Sometimes it takes me a moment to get used to it. Smush it down. Occasionally, I have to go down and loosen up some wire from my 28 gauge spool. Here they're getting far apart, so I'll stop and I'll push it together, just like that. that's about 8 inches, so I'm going to stop there. I unhook it from my drill and cut it from my swivel and cut the 28 gauge off. And wind the wire at the end, and I snip that off as well. I'm going to go ahead and make another 8-inch identical coil, and I'll be back. Alright, I have my 2 coils done. I'm going to make sure my coils are nice and tight as they can be. And since I'm making 2, I want them to be equal length, so I'm going to check that out now. This is like a couple millimeters longer. So at first I try to make the coil as tight as possible. I want them to be as even as possible, so I'm going to pull this one out. And take a couple millimeters off this coil. That should be good enough. Yeah. Alright, so let's go ahead and coil these coils. I'm going to hand coil these so I have more control over how tight the coil is. And I'm going to make my core wire out of 20 gauge. 6-7 inches should be fine. So I just need 2 inches of coil, and then I'll have plenty of wire to use for anchoring. I want my coil to be in the middle, so approximately 2 inches over. Figure out where 2 inches is and kind of start off to the side. Anchor my wire here. I have plenty of wire, so I don't need to wind it all. And since I'm doing this by hand, I'm going to put a little 90-degree bend in it and bring this wire down the side so I have control. Okay, so let's start winding. I'm going to make this wire as tight as I can. Keep your wire straight. If these were much longer, I would use the drill, but I feel that I have more control over it when I do it by hand. Kind of give it a wiggle, make sure everybody's nice and tight. You get to a point where you can just like twirl it in your fingertips. The coils should go on nice and smooth. Just use your other hand to guide it. Okay, I'm at the end of my coil, so I'm going to anchor the core wire around the 20 gauge core wire a few times like that, and then cut it off. This guy I'm going to untwist, cut this guy flush as well. Make sure everybody's neat. Okay, so we got approximately 2 inches, so perfect. Hopefully we can make the other coil the same length as well. What I can do here is I can twist opposite directions to tighten this up even farther. That's exactly 2 inches. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and make the other one and I'll be back. If you find that one's a little longer than the other, that just means one's looser or one's tighter. So you can loosen up one or tighten up one. So this one is a little bigger, so I'm gonna twist it and compress it to tighten up those coils. And now it's shorter. So I'm gonna go back to this one and tighten this one up as well. Keep doing it until they're equal size. All right, one more step to this. A little accent wire. I'm gonna take 28 gauge and I'm gonna start winding it in between the coils. Sometimes it's hard to get it started, so you gotta kind of put it on the end. Wrap it around one end and then you can start twisting it on, and it should fall right into the grooves in between the coils. Just give it a twist. Right, and just anchor that wire down and cut it off. This side I'll clean up a little bit. All right, there you are. Just do that to both of them. From here on out, it's just bonus footage. Be like how to incorporate coils onto your pendants. This is the part where you can go ahead and destroy your nice, perfect coils. I wonder if I just bent these down. Yeah, I think I'll go with that. So I'm going to anchor this down. Here's what the coils look like attached to a pendant. I just attached them to the frame up here. Brought them through. Yeah. All right, so there you go. That's it for me. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a great week.